Hello everyone, another stellar cash update. Smash that like if you haven't done so already. Let's get into why this update matters. Who is Honeycoin? And is there anything in regards to CELO part of the mix? And also Quant, some big questions that need to be answered. You're going to see it straight from x.com. And in this, it was somewhat recent and talks about there's a problem with today's digital economy. Let's fix it. And like you see here, Stellar MoneyGram access, one integration, cash access. Well, this is on the 23rd, not that long ago, 2 days before Christmas, but I thought I'd get more into the weeds about this. As we full screen this, we head on over to that link from stellar.org. As you see here, it's the products and tools from, of course, a few different ones, but you see beans, we covered that before. You see Honeycoin. Now when we click on Honeycoin, it takes us on over to here, and it talks about honeycoin.app. And one of the things that really stood out for me was wallets and payments. Honeycoin wallet empowers you with instant transfers, currency swaps, multi-currency accounts, and so much more. And when I got more into this, for me personally, I said to myself, you know, this screams Quant. Now, right here, just on the surface, for a lot of people, it's like, no, that's just one page. Again, as I got more into it, to me personally, it screamed Quant. Can't exactly confirm that, but there's some interesting things that I got into in regards to Honeycoin. Check this out. Let's get more into this. So as I pull more up in regards to this particular site, I saw some things, and needless to say, I said to myself, well, can Quant's over wallet, since we talked about that, empower you, of course, with instant transfers? Think about the terminology. Currency swaps, multi-currency accounts, and so much more. If so, well, how? Well, you have to keep in mind, it's Quant's Overledger powered overwallet. Now, a lot of you guys are just paying attention on what's going on with Stellar, and I get that, but it needs the proper mention. If you're not aware of this, I covered recently the whole concept of the overwallet. It's been designed as a key enabler of seamless cross-border and cross-platform, by the way, financial services, but it leverages multi-chain connectivity. If you're also not aware of it, the overwallet itself can indeed empower users with features like instant transfers. So this checks off on the list from Honeycoin. Currency swaps, check. Multi-currency, accounts, check. But bottom line is, just real quick, this is how it works. It's the instant transfers. By connecting multiple blockchains through Quant's Overledger technology, we know that the overwallet, the new thing, facilitates near instantaneous transactions without relying on traditional banking intermediaries. Think about that. This reduces transfer times compared to like conventional methods as of, Swift, that can take days. But what are the benefits? It's faster payments. Doesn't matter if it's domestic, international, and so on, but that means lower fees due to bypassing what, everybody? Intermediaries. Which leads us to the next part. Currency swaps. How does that exactly work? Well, the overwallet uses smart contract functionality to tokenize atomic swaps, basically. It enables those. And that means basically different cryptocurrencies, fiat, and so on. So Honeycoin, not Honeypot, right? Honeycoin, their platform stands out with this. And I'm going to get more into why that matters, and especially when it comes to Stellar, because Stellar is definitely the highlight. Well, will there be multi-currency accounts? Well, listen to this for a second. Overwallet can integrate with both decentralized and even centralized financial ecosystems, and it enables users to hold and transact in various, of course, currency. But again, what's the benefit of that? Simplified management in multi-currency holdings all in one place. Without getting more into specifically just this, I want you to understand that the Honeycoin is specifically that one specific place. So do we have interoperability across multiple systems with this? For me, the answer was yes. And when I got more into it, I said to myself, this screams Quant because of their stack. Again, not 100% confirming, but I want you to draw your own conclusion with the key findings. Where am I going with this? Well, as I take you over to honeycoin.app, I want you to see this on your screen for yourself. It's this right here, and it's what's used for businesses. Who supports them? Well, we work, as in Honeycoin, with other ones that are backed by a group of amazing angel and venture investors. Shout out to Rue Black. How many times did we cover, your Swift coin of the world and so on. And of course, that's not tied into the traditional Swift. That's a different thing. But Draper and Associates, for example, definitely stands out in regards to venture capital. And Draper and Associates has that key partnership, of course, with Stellar. So as the saying goes, birds of feather do flock together. They do more than just rub elbows together. As I take you into here, emphasis will be on CELO camp. Some of you guys are into CELO. Why is that important? Well, as you even see right here, some people ask, is CELO an ISO certified particular company? Well, like it says here, they have a standard with 9001. And here's the key thing. It means manufacturing plants across different locations like the US, Spain, Germany, China all hold ISO 9001 certifications because that is an important one. But why is that important? Well, let's introduce real quick what that standard is about without getting too far into the weeds. This is a standard that might be the most important one that nobody even knows about. Listen to this. We'll come right back, tie everything in. Here we go.
Why is ISO 9001 important and why is it required? ISO 9001 is important because it helps organizations improve their products and services while also increasing customer satisfaction. It's also a requirement for many industries and government contracts, as it demonstrates a commitment to quality management. A common misconception is that certification is carried out by the ISO Central Secretariat in Geneva, Switzerland, when in fact, this is actually carried out by third-party auditors. Who should use ISO 9001? The beauty of ISO 9001 is that it can be used by any organization regardless of size or industry. It's particularly beneficial for organizations that want to improve their quality management systems and customer satisfaction. What's the difference between ISO 9001 and ISO 14001? So ISO 14001 is a standard for environmental management systems, while ISO 9001 is for quality management. Both standards can be used by any organization, but they have different focuses and requirements. What's the difference between ISO 9001 and ISO 13485? ISO 13485 is a standard for quality management systems in the medical device industry. It's similar to ISO 9001, but includes additional requirements specific to medical devices. What's the difference between ISO 9001 and AS 9100? AS 9100 is a standard for quality management systems in the aerospace industry. It's based on ISO 9001, but includes additional requirements specific to the aerospace industry. What is a major nonconformity for ISO 9001? A major nonconformity is a significant deviation from the requirements of ISO 9001 that could impact the ability of an organization to meet customer or regulatory requirements. What is an ISO 9001 audit? An ISO 9001 audit is a systematic review of an organization's quality management system to ensure that it meets the requirements to the ISO 9001 standard. And what are the benefits of ISO 9001? Improved customer satisfaction, increased efficiency, better risk management, and enhanced competitiveness. More specifically, what topics does ISO 9001 cover? ISO 9001 covers a wide range of topics related to quality management. This includes customer focus, leadership, risk management, process improvement, and continuous improvement. What is ISO 9001 certification? ISO 9001 certification is a formal recognition that an organization's quality management system meets the requirements of the ISO 9001 standard. It's awarded by an independent certification body after a successful audit. And then the big question, how to get an ISO 9001 certification. So to get ISO 9001 certified, an organization must implement a quality management system that meets the requirements of ISO 9001 and undergo a successful audit by an independent certification body. The process typically involves several stages, including documentation review, on-site audit, and certification decision.
Okay, so one of the things that stood out for me in that regard was what she mentioned with management and so on. And, it's like when we get more into the whole thing of, you know, government, a government requirement, that's interesting in itself. Now, I want to take you over to this because, again, the whole thing of CELO and the whole thing of Quant, and it's just like interesting because sometimes is who you work with. Okay, so again, I'm not saying 100%, but really interesting to see this again from CELO. So why would you have this person, Sage, who apparently is with CELO, and it says integrating blockchain technology into legacy systems. This was from April 2023, but again, I thought I'd bring it to you guys. Why? Because when I get into it, he goes really into the weeds of integrating blockchain technology and, of course, legacy systems. And just to not read this whole thing, um, in the benefits and potential benefits, because we know about this when it comes to the whole thing of businesses, et cetera, et cetera. Well, boil it, mash it, stick it in stew. He references several organizations' initiatives that are working to establish standards for blockchain tech. For example, International Organization for Standardization (ISO) established a technical committee for blockchain distributed ledger technologies, TC 307. That's a Quant network standard, as we know, to develop international standards for blockchain distributed ledger technologies. So he goes into the whole thing about the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, and he talks about all the efforts, the strategies, the integrations. I mean, everything to, give a person who's new to all this a heads up about this. But what stands out for me is collaborating with experienced blockchain developers and consultants to integrate blockchain into legacy systems. And what do you see from Stellar in regards to also the whole thing with Honeycoin? A collaboration. That's the bottom line. Okay, real quick. What would be more reasons for use of ISO 9001? It's the global adoption of ISO 9001. And ISO 9001, for example, has requirements to tailor to meet specific contractual situations. Again, back to what the lady mentioned in regards to contractual situations with the government. Remember how she specifically mentioned government? I thought that was important. One thing that grabbed my attention was food industry combined with ISO 9000 series with a company or organization called HACCP, which is Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points, Single Management System. Now, I want to talk about this for a second. We know that Trump has appointed RFK Jr. Again, I'm not trying to make this political. I'm just referencing, he's going to be the new president coming up, right? So RFK Jr. has a strong stance on what he wants to, let's face it, radically do with the food industry. He feels, though, that there's a big epidemic, there's a problem. There is. So when I see things like this and tied into the food industry, and I think of contractual agreements, well, things like XDC definitely stands out in that regard because of Electronic Trade Documents Act. But this also screams out to me as what kind of demand would that create for things that are not only collaborated with things like CELO. I'm not personally invested in the CELO, but I respect it. I'm still trying to stack more of what I have instead of just being thinned out. But CELO is a good project, and I may consider, if it has a major pullback, to get into that. But the point is standards. So their standard tied into 9001 definitely stands out, right? So if you think about what RFK Jr. is going to do, well, wouldn't this stand out when he finally gets things going? And again, I get it. It's not just him. As I get further into this, I want to pull up some other things that I think, again, stand out, because even if you go into the whole thing of HCCP or HACCP, it's the whole thing of a systematic preventive approach to food safety from biological, chemical, and physical hazards. It's a real thing. It's been around for a while, as you've seen right here. But, I mean, it has ties to the FDA. It has ties to agriculture. I mean, we're talking like it blankens anything that has to do with this whole industry in itself. So they literally been around for over 30 years. All right, getting more into this. Again, how do we tie in some of these other things when it comes to ISO? So on a basic search, this gentleman popped up on my research. His name is Dr. Madhu Aman Sharma. He's the founder, director, and CEO over at K2A Management. Now, he points out about 8 months ago that his team is highly experienced and technically qualified for implementing ISO 22000 and some of these other ones, right? But what do you see in regards to the tag? You see that he highlights HACCP and, again, food safety standards, Cambodia, some other places, right? So food packaging industries. But again, you see that, all right? So as I got more into this, even on another basic search, I'm going to try to really blow this up for you guys. Well, what do you see here? Basic search for him mentions specifically, there you go, boil it, mash it, stick it in stew. Interesting to see consulting firm and then ISO TC 307. So I think that's more than a thing. I think that's more than a coincidence to see that part of that mix. Okay. As I take you back to another key site, Honeycoin, build tools and help individuals and teams move and spend money anywhere affordably and at the speed of the internet. Well, there is no real speed, specific speed of the internet. I don't know if people realize this, right? We are crippled, hampered by what speed our local internet service providers give us, our ISPs. So in reality, there's no, the speed is unbounded. It's just, we get clamped on what we get depending on how much we spend, right? So interesting to see the terminology. I'm not trying to read into it too much, but again, I'm gonna take you somewhere else because I take you back to honeycoin.app. Let's get into the bank-to-bank wallets. Again, how do we tie in Stellar, everything, right? So it says global payments to grow your revenue. Accept payments online, in person, around the world with a payments solution built for any business from scaling startups to global enterprises. But the terminology. All right, look what it says on the top in the yellow. If you go to honeycoin.app, well, you see where they stated, we have clarified our communication around specifically digital assets that they support. At the moment, they only provide support for stablecoins or any regulated digital assets in line with our commitment to our fiat and banking partners. Well, they're just trying to be transparent. What happens when it gets a little bit more further from fiat and so on, right? And again, I'm going to address some of these questions and concerns. So building the future, you see what they're going to try to do with some of this. And again, building a next-gen blockchain-based financial layer through their products. Okay, well, that's cool. And, you can appreciate that. Now, let's address a few key things. My thing is this. The Honeycoin partnership, from what I gathered in my notes, is specifically focused on facilitating cross-border transactions, of course, using USDC. Now, some people that hear that, they're like, why is Stellar so focused on USDC? Have you noticed, even with Ripple, RLUSD? Now, there's a key thing for that. And again, I won't make a deep dive about what Ripple's doing so on. We've more than done that a few times, and we'll still do that. But it's what's going on with the Stellar blockchain. Hear me out. Key focus. The current integration allows users in certain countries, whether it's Kenya, Uganda, other places in in Africa and even in the UK, outside Africa, right, United Kingdom, to withdraw their Circle USDC holdings as cash. Hence the thumbnail of the update, right? Stellar Cash at MoneyGram locations. Now, all right, Max, I already know that. What is XLM's role? Well, XLM's role, hear me out, is, part of that mix. So while XLM, the lumens, is the native currency of the Stellar network, which primarily focuses, should be pointed out of the partnership being on USDC transactions. So people don't want to hear that. They're like, well, that's not Stellar XLM. Hear me out. Therefore, while the partnership leverages the Stellar blockchain, it does not directly indicate that Honeycoin will be using XLM itself for its core operations. Now, that was the disclaimer you saw at the top. However, listen to this. You have to keep in mind some other key things. And what would that be? Well, it will lead to the other question that you guys are going to ask. How does USDC transactions, Circle, benefit Stellar XLM as in the native currency of Stellar? Well, as we know, or you maybe not know, you're new to this, before it was called Circle USDC, it was called Stellar USDC. All right? So USDC transactions on the Stellar network does in fact benefit XLM, the Stellar lumens, in several ways. Now, I'm not going to give you like a whole giant grocery list, but area of focus is going to be this. Basically, it's like this. It's increased network activity. Hear me out. Because as we know, even with Bitcoin, it's increased network activity with, let's face it, a lot of people don't like USDT, but say what you want. Tether definitely helps a lot when it comes to increased network activity, even with Bitcoin. So, for one, the increased network activity means USDC, as we know, is a popular and widely used stablecoin. When USDC transactions occur on Stellar, yes, Stellar, it increases the overall volume of transactions, of course, on the network. So that example with Bitcoin, with Tether, is a great example. This increased activity can enhance the visibility and appeal of the Stellar network to other projects and, of course, users. That's a big win moving forward. You want to see that. All right. Well, Max, what about enhanced utility for, of course, XLM? Hey, I'm with you. I would ask the same thing. XLM plays a crucial role in facilitating transactions on the Stellar network. It's used for multiple things, by the way, but we'll just get to the nitty gritty. Paying for transaction fees, enabling cross asset transfers, which, by the way, includes USDC, Circle. But it's also the whole thing of securing the network through staking. And as we know, once anything is staked, whether it's 6 months, a year, multiple years, whatever the case be, that takes it out of circulation. You know, people, of course, want to see things like a full burn and so on, but say what you want. Things taken out of supply, well, get enough of that happening, it creates supply shock, drives demand, and so on. So would we see increased USDC usage indirectly, which would increase the demand for XLM to support these functions? Yes. Would it attract new users and developers? Yes. The presence alone, listen to this, of a stablecoin like USDC on the Stellar network would very well attract new users and developers who are looking for a stable and efficient platform for their financial applications. Max, I don't know about that. How's that happening? It's already happening. What do you see with Sorbonne? Oh, yeah, I forgot about Sorbonne. Hey, I get it. So would this create a whole influx of new participants that would further bolster the Stellar ecosystem? Boom, you already seen this. What's the example? Honeycoin. I know the term kind of scares people, right? Honeycoin's part of a honeypot scam, right? Well, pump the brakes on that, because at the end of the day, it's all about what? It is about improved liquidity. So improved liquidity means more liquidity. More people dumping liquidity in is a big win for all of us to hold our beloved Stellar XLM. So would we see increased USDC usage? Yes. Would we see improvements of liquidity? Yes. Would that be within the Stellar ecosystem? Yes. Well, would that make it easier for users to buy, sell, and trade assets, including XLM? Yes, absolutely. So that's where I'm going with this. All right, let's jump back to Honeycoin, this particular publication, because I want you to understand it's not just Africa and the UK. So check this out. So as I take you to here, let's blow this up for a moment on the screen, make it a little bit bigger so you can read it a little bit easier. What do you see in regards to this? You see that hundreds of thousands of people use Honeycoin, and you also see, plain as day, that it's dozens of businesses all moving millions of dollars across Africa. What happens when that scales? But does it mention the US? Yes. US, United States, UK, and some parts of Europe, with this number increasing every day. So this is a new thing, but wow, their infrastructure really stands out, right? And of course, they're hiring and so on. So that's cool to see that. Jumping more into this, what about pricing? Well, pricing for teams of all sizes. And look at this. Again, this model for me screams Quant, and I get it. Other people could follow the model, right? But the startup, $1,500 a month. What about enterprise? Well, enterprise, that's going to be a heck of a lot more, right? But the cool thing is, even at that startup, which is the most popular one, like it says, everything with a free plan, no caps on cars, credit limits, and you kind of get the gist. But for me, when we talk about enterprise, that's where the smart money is at. So that means utility put in motion for Stellar. Any way you want to dice it, is why I took the liberty to explain some of that to you all. Pilot your finances on autopilot, and here is one of the most incentive things that we need to get into. Competitive yields of up to 16% on idle cash. Now, here's the thing. Let's address this for a moment. For me personally, I haven't had a savings account for years, right? Checking account. Why? Because savings account, what are we getting paid, everybody? Like, not even worth it, especially with inflation. If anything, it's costing us more money to have that savings account. I will have my checking account because I still need to pay bills with traditional fiat, right? So how do we attract people to come back, if you will, to have, a way of savings. I think this is the answer. Up to 16% yield on idle cash. Say what you want. We have to have a plan for the future when it comes to what are we going to do with some of our stable coins and so on, or cash. Wow. This is an industry disruptor, is it not? Absolutely. Getting further into this, if you go to their docs.honeycoin.app, what do you see? Well, they're pretty transparent. You can get a list of, for example, what transactions that happen. Some people point out, like, well, yeah, there's things like Etherscan and so on. Right, get that. But what about an easier way to track that if somebody's brand new to this? Well, my thing is understanding how it all comes together and even getting more into it. Well, what about, for example, what we see right here in regards to specifically, like, is there a list of banks? There is. They show you like some of the lists of support. And so even in the code, Kenya, Standard Chartered Bank Limited, ABSA Bank Kenya, a lot of, Kenyan banks and so on. But even the whole thing of Citibank of North America, again, back to the whole thing of the United States. And you just kind of go through this list and you see some big names, right? So that's impressive to see how the orchestration of all that works, right? And I thought I'd, of course, bring that to you guys, okay? All right, next part I want to highlight for you guys. Again, we talked about the whole thing of cash. So remember how I mentioned the whole thing of, like, XLM and whatnot? So they have crypto to fiat. How many times have you seen the whole concept of Stellar, stands out for those on and off ramps? Well, literally, here's crypto to fiat. Now look at how this is coded. You see on the right side, let's put some emphasis on this, a request. Well, what's the request for? Help with bills. That's just one example. As I pull this further down, country, United States, and look what it says, ISO 222. Interesting. Look at this. Enter amount, $1,000 worth of what? XLM, and the receiver currency, is just like the disclaimer, would be USDC, as in Circle, right? Stablecoin. On what chain? Interesting. XLM. So the network. Payment method through a MoneyGram location. I mean, that seems like it's utility put into motion. Absolutely. All right. What about fiat, as in cash, to stables, for example? Stables, basically, in layman's terms, or technical terms to layman's terms, is your stable coins. All right. So that's an on ramp. And as you see, US dollars to either Circle or even Tether. There's that. And of course, I'm not going to try to put this together for you, but you see that example. And then earlier, one of the examples I wanted to share with you all, just in case you're like, I don't see no picture of, Danelle or anybody from Stellar. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? You see her, she's in the red. That's Danelle Dixon, everybody, of Stellar. So they got a real thing going on here. So that's basically it. Thought I would share that with you all. Stellar Cash update. Nice to see what they are doing in that regard. Obviously worth pointing out, the honorable mention from CELO. Is this tied to Quant? Do these standards matter? They absolutely do. So with that said, if you listen to the entire outline, simply do me a favor and type this into the comments. And that is CELO. CELO. And I'll know that you listen to the entire outline. I really appreciate you guys listening to these outlines. As the saying goes, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. So just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.